Welcome, everybody. Friday, 7/8/2022. Today is Friday. You know what today is? It is the day after the release of REI Op Center.
It's a great day. It's a great day
What's
now.
that?
Living in the glory. Basking in the glory?
In the glory. Say that again?
Basking in the glory? Is that the better terminology for that?
We are basking
Anyways.
in glory. We had listen, I was surprised. We had a phenomenal turnout. Almost filled up the room because you know these
Mhm.
what do you call it? Video conferencing rooms give you limits. Basically
Yes.
filling out, maxing out, which is ironic because although we were maxing out the room, we were also trying to max out people's data potential and how they run their business. So I thought that was funny. Overwhelming response. Following up with people today who have some deeper questions, doing some one-on-ones with them to show them how it could really do. But I was pumped, man. I was pumped. You know?
Yeah. Good stuff.
What do you think?
That's your stage, man. That's your element is like a mixture of entertaining and educating to a large audience. Something that you're passionate and experienced about. So, I mean, we've been hyping it up and bringing it up on every episode, but I'm excited to go back and look through it. I just skimmed through a couple parts, saw the offer and some of the slides, things like that. Super stoked. I sent it. If Raul is listening to this, I emailed it to you last night because I know when we spoke a month ago. So if you're watching this, Raul out of El Paso, I hope that you check that out. But I'm super stoked on it.
Listen, dude.
Super stoked.
I will say, I have it up on my screen. I'm rewatching it, which is funny. Off topic, today I was doing sales training with our team, using Tom Brady as an example about athletes, how you rewatch your game tape. You should listen to your sales calls over and over again. And I told them, I said, you know what's on my screen that I started rewatching? My presentation from yesterday, because even me, a seasoned salesperson, what can I correct? Did I talk too fast? What things can I do? You still get nervous no matter what you're presenting. You want to make sure that you're giving the best presentation possible. So yeah, I'm rewatching it too in that aspect. And that's just kind of what you got to do as a salesperson. Carlos, you're always, as a salesperson, you're always trying to get better.
Mm-hmm. Salesperson even listen to podcasts both. And that reminds me, I forget what documentary it was, maybe Kobe Bryant, a Kobe Bryant Muse documentary or something. But Beyonce, after a concert, very first thing she does, she gets out of a concert, her team brings her a laptop and she sits down and watches the entire concert. First thing she does right when it's done.
I never knew that.
So if she's listening to this, and if you're looking to hire somebody in sales, maybe she'd be good to bring in there. She gets bored with performing. Yeah, I thought that was super interesting. I want to say that was in a Kobe Bryant documentary I watched maybe a couple years ago.
Yeah, Kobe.
But I was like, damn, that's impressive.
They all do it, man. The greats do it, and people think, I have a saying, it's always the salesperson's fault. It's not the lead, it's not the system, it's not the tool, it's always your fault, your job, it's not a bad thing. Don't, because nowadays that's like a fucking crime to say. People are like, oh, don't hurt my self-esteem. No, you gotta recognize that you probably made a mistake, go back and listen to it. So and that's what I was doing. Whether or not I made a mistake or not, I feel like I can always improve. But I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was John. I thought it was phenomenal.
I thought it was great.
And the funny thing is we didn't even share, there are so many more features that John's got up his sleeve that he's trying to release, and he's working with our front end guy to release. We didn't even talk about preset filters. We didn't talk about the API integrations. We didn't talk about the exporting directly into your call systems or VoIP phone. We didn't talk about lead status. We didn't even get in to the meat of it because I was told I had 1 hour. And I talked.
The next one should be a 3-hour webinar.
I was sweating bullets. I'm looking at my watch. I had the timer on. I'm watching it. I skipped John. I skipped fucking paragraphs because I didn't want to feel the wrath of oh, you did it too long and you fucked up. So I was rushing, man. I had too much meat in there.
Mm-hmm. It's fun. It was the first webinar that we've done, the first one that we've really kind of talked about REI Op Center, except for a couple of snippets on this show. And, how long ago did we talk, did we set that date?
No, it was 2 months ago.
2 months ago?
It was right before, because you wanted to do it in June, and I was going away to the lake.
That's right. I was like, we just gotta start talking about it. Cause so in my mind, there's a phrase with the SaaS industry of if you,
Fuck this phrase. I hate this phrase. He recites it to me all the fucking time. It goes against everything in my nature.
if there's like variations, but if the release of your product is perfect, then you waited too long.
Yeah,
how it
that's
goes?
exactly what you tell me. If the release of if your product is perfect by the time you release it, you waited too long to release it.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
and so I was just like, we gotta set a date, and we gotta just get up and start talking about it. So I mean, like, it's not like we're not bringing in users yet. We're going to bring in users at the end of Q3. What we're offering now is a fantastic deal that starts the day you come into the product. And it's just a way for us to gather people to start getting some more insight into the product, understanding their wish list, which we've already gotten. We got a great email from Dave. He's like, here's what I'm doing with my data. Brandon's going to have a call with him and kind of see, well, how does our App Center help with that? Is there things that we need to add to that? So, but, we set this date, and, it's coming up. And it's like, what do we want to do in the webinar? I'm like, hey, it doesn't matter if we talk a lot about the product. Let's just talk about the vision. Let's talk about where we're going, what we've done, why we're doing this. And I think the next one we do, we'll have more stuff about the product. But there was a lot of like fear going into it. And I mean, the first time publicly talking about it, like it's like revealing a child to the world. Like, this is my child. And then you're just like, what are people going to say about it? Are they going to like it? Are they not? Yeah. Yeah. And so, like, I remember, like, Brandon, you told me, I think like 2 weeks ago or a week ago, you're like, John, I really have to keep stopping myself from saying, let's push the webinar back. Yeah. And like, you never asked me to do that. And I was thinking about it too, especially like this week as we were like, having issues with the demo. And, but no, we stuck to it. We got up on the stage, we talked about it. And it's really intriguing once you like get on the other side of that. And now that we, had the feedback that we had yesterday, like just super good feels moving into the progression of where we're going, understanding that we're in a direction that's going to help people. Like, we did polls during the webinar. Like, there's a lot of people on there that have pain points that we can help with. So, but it's really intriguing too. Like, just as like an entrepreneur, you want things to be perfect. Yeah. You want things to be absolutely 100% working correctly, like it looks phenomenal, because ultimately you want the success of the end goal, right? Like making a lot of sales, having a lot of customers, whatever it is. And you feel like in order to do that, it's got to exactly line with what's in your brain about how you picture this thing being. But that's not true in reality, because I mean, as we've experienced with investor views, right? Like, the wish list of stuff that we want to build and do inside the application never, ever ends. And if you wait, you're missing out on having all of these customers be on the journey with you. And that's like the most important part. If I never released IF3 and kept building it, Brandon would never have become a customer, and we would never have gotten his insight into like, how does this fit into a team? So it's just really important for all the people.
What a sad nightmare scenario there you just outlined. Jeez, I wasn't ready for that one.
Hang on. Let's unpack.
Give me a heads up next time.
Let's unpack that, because had I had not done that, all three of us wouldn't be here today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So like, it's funny in the business world, like, you go farther together. You can make more alone, but you go farther together. And by incident, you actually make more than if you did alone, because the further you go, the more potential there is for the unlimited, whether it's wealth, whatever it is you're seeking, mostly financial gain for most business people. And you do more together. But I just thought that was funny when you said that, because if I didn't do that, I wouldn't. I mean, I knew Carlos just because of the stuff with John, but I never really met him until we started doing this. And then I really liked him. And then we were talking about a podcast. I was like, we got to bring that motherfucker Carlos on. We're going to bring him on. He's got some sweet insights, and that's the thing. And you just don't know where it's going to lead you. But as an entrepreneur, like you do want we're so used to taking risks, but a lot of us are too afraid to say that you're afraid, because you got to power through it. But I could tell you, honestly, I was nervous as shit. Hour talk?
Oh, yeah.
Come on. I've never been up on stage for like an hour. And even though I'm in my office all by myself, I was like, I locked the door. I was like, no one's coming in.
Nobody's coming to watch me do this. That's funny. Yeah, no, I mean,
in the office, you're just like, lock the door. Fuck you guys.
The anxiety is real. I mean, my damn AirPods are like falling out of my ears. What was I going to say?
You know what you're saying? So let's just recap. I know I'm doing Carlos' job because Carlos usually recaps.
No, you're good.
Let's just recap. Setting a date to do something is important as you're running a business, but it's no different than what you hear preached on social media all the time about when you can have a goal in your mind, but you got to write it down, just like we talked about last week with my mobile home parks. I had thought about buying them for like a year or so beforehand. It wasn't until sat down, talked about it, wrote it down, started taking action on it, right? And John and I had been working on REI Up Center for a long time, talking about releasing it. Our original release was November, and then it was January, and then it was March, and then finally when we put a date to it, it actually happened. And then we just didn't make any excuses for it, no matter how nerve-wracking, no matter how nervous we were. And that's it, man. Whether you're wholesaling or flipping, like in the flipping business, right? You got to put a date on when that flip's going to be done, because if you don't, your contractors will push you out. Your vendors will push out materials. Even your in-house labor will take their time. Instead of going to see it today, they'll do it tomorrow. Instead of meeting a vendor out there today, they'll meet him next week. Instead of telling the vendor, we got to get this done by this day, they'll say, yeah, give me your bid whenever you can. We just need to get this thing started. And all of that feeds into the line of urgency. And so whether you're flipping or coming out with a product, because flipping is a product, but no matter what it is, you have to set that deadline, that quote unquote goal, and adhere to it. It's funny, we don't realize how all these things are tied together. We just put different names on them: goals, deadlines, projects, flips. They're all part of the same. What I always talk about is, like in my own life, is patterns. They're all part of the same behavior patterns. If you're not good at setting goals for yourself and keeping them, well, you're probably going to have a really hard time setting a goal on a project and keeping it, or keeping a deadline on a flip, and so on, because it's all part of the same behavior patterns. It's the repeat of doing it and owning it, like owning that process and that deadline, is going to bleed into everything else you do. And if you bitch out, man, if you're going to bitch out on it, well, you'll bitch out on everything else.
Yep.
How you do anything is how you do everything. Is that the idiom or the saying?
Is that the idiom? I don't know if it's an idiom, but I'm an idiot for not hearing that.
Big word. Well, you know me. I'm bougie, as we talked off air. I'm
not as bougie.
I don't have the Italian water. I did have some Italian water I tagged you on. That was solid. And you get the San Pellegrino. You guys deserve some San Pellegrino. I mean, I think we talk a little bit like high mindset, I guess spiritual for lack of a better term, but I think for me and a lot of people that I study, like a big leverage point is being able to step into things that are unknown, which goes into launching of REI Up Center or whatever you're doing, like knowing that you put your best planning and action towards something, and kind of a mixture of surrendering and stepping into the unknown. That's super powerful for me. Yeah. Being like, hey man, I put together this slide deck with some help. We've been working on this product. You guys are working your asses off on this product. Have a lot of good feedback. Good intentions of helping people, obviously, like we do. I think us three all do with everything in our lives. And at some point, you have to be like, hey man, I may have talked too long. I may have even something in the product might be messed up. Maybe the offer wasn't the best. Maybe enough people didn't come on the webinar. But at the end of the day, the more you surrender and just go into it and focus on the next thing, the better you'll come out on the other side.
100%.
I like your word surrender, because I feel, if I'm going to be honest, like we all have an ego. Like I have an ego. So 100%. The ultimate thing with an ego is being proven wrong, right? So you almost have to surrender to be wrong. So it could have been, and I made a joke of it, but it's true. I didn't want to release this. That's the truth. But I'm also not an idiot. I asked John to be my partner, and there's a certain intent there that this product's going to be fucking released for financial gain and to help other people. But it was all for me. Now, if you ask why it's all for me, well, it's easy for it to be all for me, not just to make money, but because then my ideas don't get criticized, they don't get judged, they don't get seen. Then I can sell myself on the fact that my idea is great without anybody actually saying that it's great. And you can't prove me wrong if I never show it to you. I can live by that. So, and that's part of it too, right? Like, I don't want to release a lot of things because, well, it's mine, and then they can't get rejected. Then I don't feel bad about myself. But like John said, when you're releasing your baby, he made that comment earlier, and Carlos said surrender. It got me thinking, like, you're really surrendering to the public when you're releasing something. And for an entrepreneur, that's a huge hit to their ego if it comes out bad versus good. And there's a saying people always used to say to me, it's business, don't take it personal, which is true to a certain aspect. But when you truly invest, like I call it my mind's effort, right? You truly invest like the best of your mind. And we've talked about this before versus outsourcing, copying other people's stuff, or actually inventing something, right? Not white labeling the software. It can hurt if someone comes back and says, well, that's bullshit. I mean, that's fucking stupid. Who the fuck wants that? Like, that's ugly. That doesn't make sense. That offer's horrible. Like, what are you doing? This was a waste of my time. And so you can allow that fear to happen, or you could do what Carlos said, and you can surrender. So ultimately, like when I brought John on and I was like, John, can we partner on this? I need your help. It was in a sense me surrendering and saying like, okay, listen, like I'm not going to keep this to myself. I need help releasing this to the public. I'm not good at it. Like I joked, but it was so true. John has everything that I don't have. Experience. And that's not an easy thing to admit as an entrepreneur, because I also made a comment as a guy who's got money and has success in real estate. It's the perfect combination to think that you could do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, have you see that? You see someone in real estate, they make a shit ton of money flipping, and they're like, fuck it, let's open a restaurant. You know,
I saw that a post. Somebody did that. They're like, "Do you like? Does anybody know?" Like they asked in a real estate group, "Does anybody know about starting and fully automating a landscaping business?" And I'm like,
"Yeah,
what?"
I mean, there's different levels to that. I might buy a landscaping business and own it to have someone run it and use it as a vertical. But there's difference with starting, right? But I know a guy, one of my biggest buyers, phenomenal mentor in my network, and he gave me that lesson earlier on. He says, Brandon, he said, a lot of people in real estate make the mistake of making a shit ton of money in real estate and then getting completely out of it and taking that money and going into a completely other industry, right? So like restaurants is a complete another, I mean, it has nothing to do other than the actual owning of the space, nothing to do with it. And he says, and that's when they lose their money. And he says, you know, I've never made that mistake. I've known too many people to do that. So he's not always on board with all my crazy ideas that I always bring up. But it's nice to hear that, right? Like, you know, you got to stay in your space. Luckily, REI Op Center is in the real estate space. It's real estate tech. That's a complete integrated vertical into running a real estate wholesaling or flipping business.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can definitely think about some people that have done that in the real estate space, taken their money and gone elsewhere. And you're right. Like diversifying your portfolios is good in terms of like you are the owner, but you have somebody that, you know, a restaurateur that, you know, comes in and actually runs the restaurant.
Never own a fucking restaurant.
Well, you don't like 12% profit margins? Come on.
I know, right? That's just me. I mean, if I was a chef, maybe that'd be different.
I don't comp properties where I eat, so I don't know if I'd open a restaurant either.
That's funny.
I was gonna say real quick before John that it's interesting that I've even seen some people, because we've like the first few episodes we talked about like coaching and stuff, like a ton of people are coaching just because it's easy with social media era. It's like easy for you to be your own broadcasting station, and now just for you to be your own educational platform. If you have a Kajabi or a Teachable, you can literally just make your own course. And it almost comes down to the quality of your media versus like your track record of how successful you are. But I've even talk to some really successful real estate investors that don't do coaching. And they're almost like, man, I feel like I have done so much more stuff than a lot of people I see coaching. Like, do I need to be coaching to make money?
I say
And
that all the time.
for those individuals specifically, which I'd probably say, I mean, actually, I don't know. I mean, you got REI Op Center. But for them, I'm like, man, you should just keep going deep in your, in your area of expertise. You don't need to like take your focus off of that to learn how to put together courses and modules and pricing and bringing people on, like spending your time one-on-one or group setting with people. But I think it's probably a thing, like you just said it, Puppy, that you think about it, about coaching and stuff. So I see the inverse of that as well, for sure.
I don't want to though. Like it goes one. I don't have the patience. Okay, because I'm so blunt. I would just be like, you're a fucking idiot. Stop asking the same dumb fucking. So like I'm not a teacher. That's why I was never in the restaurant business, right? I'm not customer service. It's you know what I mean? Like I just don't have the long-term patience for that. But but what I was meaning by that is like it's fear of missing out is kind of what I heard when you said that. Like, damn, I have so much experience. Should I be doing that? Like, is that did I miss the boat? Well, and then they sell you on it like, well, I'm doing a service to people. If you were truly doing a service, you would give it away for free.
Yep.
And then they say, well, my time is money. Well, if that's the case, it's not a service. You're doing it for financial gain. And I get it. And it's a whole argument. I knew a guy, I didn't personally know him, but I followed him. He had recently passed away. But that was his whole thing, giving free game. He makes so much money, he doesn't need to charge for his knowledge. He will just give it away on social media, teach it, go around and teach it and speak and do all those things. Doesn't need a profit. I feel like that's more of who I am rather than trying to make a course. Like John knows I have a course, not on how to wholesale, but how to do each position. And I made a comment.
I think my exact phrasing to you was, do you know what you have here?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because I made it for myself. I made it for my team.
Yeah.
I have no intention on ever selling it because it's for my team. It's not, I don't want to become a coach. I don't feel like I should be charging for that type of thing. If I truly like you, I will just help you until you deem not worthy of my help. Simple as that. It's a different line of thinking, man. I don't argue with the people who charge for their time. I'm just not going to give you my time. It's not. And Alex, you know who said it? Alex Hermosi. He had that in his book. He was talking about how like someone offered him $50,000 for like a day of his time or something. And he was like, at that point, I was making more, and it didn't make sense to me. I knew guys who were selling their time that way, $50K for a day, all this, and I was the guy who could solve all their problems. But he denied it because he just wanted to focus on his own thing. But that doesn't stop him from giving away all of his knowledge for basically free, because his books are like fucking $5.
99 cents.
Yeah. I mean, like $1 is so fucking cheap. It doesn't stop him from giving away his knowledge. He wants to share, but he doesn't want to create like that coaching program that you see everyone else. And Carlos, I agree, man. I'm getting Instagram's new algorithm. You know their new algorithm now of you getting recommended.
No, break it down.
There. So now, you put me on the spot there. I mean, I kind of like fudged that. I don't know if it's like an actual new algorithm. I'm just gonna say, I know. Thanks, bud. I'm just gonna say that I've noticed over like the last month, Instagram has changed. Where now it's not your feed. You don't own your feed anymore. They're now recommending based on who you follow. So if I follow a real estate investor who follows another guy who's a guru, I'm getting recommended and seeing the post of that guru with a little banner at the top that says you're seeing this because you follow Carlos. X out not to get any more of Carlos's recommendations or not. So now I'm seeing a lot more gurus, and I'm asking myself the same thing. Well, these people have only been doing real estate for 5 years. I've been doing it since 2009. Should I be doing this? I don't know the answer.
On Facebook, I don't go on there really at all, ever. I think I log on for specific purposes. And anytime I logged on, and the top post in the news story feed was from this guy named Qasim, who's a Google Ads genius out of Phoenix. And we met him in San Diego. I don't think he does real estate anymore. He had partnered with somebody who was doing real estate. Anyways, really smart guy, like one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. Like I just like to stand around him and listen to him talk because the dude's just like one of those type of people. Anyway, so I run the ads for Investor Fuse, the Google ads for Investor Fuse. And where did I learn how to run Investor Fuse's Google ads? On Qasim's YouTube channel. And so in this post, he talks about, I constantly get asked for people for like, can I pick your brain for 15 minutes? And so he said, I love sharing knowledge. And that is the reason that I started my YouTube channel. I think he started like 2 years ago or something like that. And they posted a ton of stuff. And he's like, that's the reason I did that, is because I love sharing. But my time is valuable to me. So what I did is I said yes, but he like said like, here's a link to book some time with me, and it charges people. And I don't know, he didn't say in the post how much, but he says, it's a high amount. It's like, if I was to go on a phone call, this would be worth my time if I received this amount of money. And the dude got mad at him. He's like, why would you send me a link that charges me money? I just want to ask you questions. And he's like, I produce free content, and I have for years because I want to give to people, but I can't just like hop on the phone with anybody at any point in time. I'm not here to like consult them. They can be a part, like they can sign up as a customer with my agency, or they can go watch my free YouTube stuff. I can't just like give my time away. Yeah. And it was like an interesting perspective on that, because I'm the same way. Like I feel like giving away the content, giving away the information is better. And I mean, I used to do that as a Podio consultant. Like if you go search for like Podio tutorials on YouTube, my videos still pop up because I was the first one to do them.
That's how
I'm famous. I got a ton of business through that. And
you're still saved like, in my phone as John Podio.
Nice. That's awesome. But I was just given like, explaining here's stuff, and this whole idea of like,
do you charge or not charge, John? Like that's the argument. And it's like, to me, I'm not saying what he's doing is wrong, because I get it. I just wouldn't talk to you. Yeah. My time is valuable. Like I don't want to charge you, because I feel like it's like giving financial advice. Like I can't guarantee you're going to follow it. I don't have the time to follow up with you. You know what I mean? Like having 15 minutes, is that going to be of such value? I know the whole thing, if I could sit down 15 minutes with like Warren Buffett, I would learn so much. But would I learn as much reading all of Warren Buffett's annual letters, reading his books, listening to his speeches? Is there something I'm going to ask, some magic question in 15 minutes of sitting with him that I couldn't find online listening to him? Like something I'm asking is so unique that he's never answered it before, and all the plethora of his fucking works and knowledge that he's put out there to the public. I don't think so. So it's just, but I get where people are coming from. They charge $2,000, $5,000, whatever it is. But what question am I going to ask that hasn't been asked? It's 2022. I feel like all the unique and intelligent questions have already been asked. You know what I mean? Like we should be able to find them. But I don't know, man. You could see both sides of it there. But I feel like this guy.
Oh yeah, and like too. I don't think I explained it very well, but yeah, because Qasim's like idea was, I have told people very politely that I'm sorry, I can't get on the phone with you. Please go watch my free content. It will answer your questions, or book a call with the consulting agency. So, and he's like, that didn't work. So instead, I just made this link.
They get pissed. Everyone in America is a bunch of titled assholes. They're entitled, man. They're freaking entitled. They're lazy motherfuckers. I forget what I was watching the other day, where it was somebody was making fun of Americans and how lazy and entitled we are. And as an American, I laughed and I said, yep. Yep. I didn't argue with it.
Yeah. You're going to come across some people, a certain percentage of people, no matter what you're doing, that are just going to be completely like, I don't even know what world they're in, where they just expect you to drop. A random person could DM you and just expect you to drop everything that they're doing.
Yeah.
Everything that you're doing to help them out. It's like, dude, what are you even thinking?
Yeah, I don't have that time or ability, or I just don't want to. I don't really care, But it's for the people out there with the education space, that's fine. you know, you need that as well. It's just, you got to respect it for them and just understand that it's not for everybody. But I don't know, man, I would just rather keep growing as an entrepreneur and learning new things. You know what I mean? And there's a lot that I can learn. But plus, I also have people that I call that don't charge me.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's so interesting.
I could call people and not get charged because there's something I don't know, there's a value for value exchange that doesn't have to do with money. Like, I'm sure that guy has a circle of people he talks to that he doesn't charge whatever he charges. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right? Right. Don't be mad that you're not in that circle. Work hard to get in that circle.
Yeah. I agree. So you just mentioned Papa P, that you know, your philosophy is like, if I want to talk to Warren Buffett or whatever, I'd go just like read the content, research. So I think that's a good little segue into some stuff that you recently did for the RI Ops Center presentation yesterday. So I mean, we haven't even really talked much about the Discord channel, but you know, you showed me it yesterday.
Oh yeah.
I showed somebody else it today. I was like, man, this thing's cool. But like, you just went down a little rabbit hole. You learned a bunch, and then what'd you do?
Okay, listen, I'm gonna be honest. So let's just preface this, guys. The whole point of this segue is outsourcing work, but it's a battle for entrepreneurs. And I was talking to an acquaintance. You know, I haven't actually met him in person. He's an online acquaintance, and I respect like his business. And we were talking about how not outsourcing your business, but hiring somebody, right? Compounding labor, hiring labor to do things that you would normally do, and how you can compound that to make more profit. And we were talking about how that's the hardest lesson for entrepreneurs to learn, because it goes against everything in our nature, not just entrepreneurs, right? I'm not going to categorize this as entrepreneurs, salesmen, anybody who's like an alpha person who believes that they'll push forward. Before the show, I was joking around and saying, whatever Carlos could do, I could do better. Is that true? No, but I believe it to my fucking core because of who I am. Carlos is better at a lot of shit than me, but if we're going to argue about it, I'm better than you. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. So we had to make, like, part of what we're offering in a package is a custom community in Discord, not in Facebook. Facebook is for fucking, as my daughter would say, Facebook's for boomers. So we're in Discord, and I was like, what do you know about Discord? She's like, oh, we have a Discord for our high school film group, and we have a Discord for this. And I'm like, that's why I'm doing Discord, because it's hip and it's fucking cool. Anyway, normally, like, for Discord, my initial instinct, John knows, I was going to make it. So I went down the rabbit hole, because, of course, I could do this better. I knew exactly what I wanted. I had it in my mind. I'm a part of a bunch of crypto Discords and NFT Discord groups, and I was like, I already know this shit. I watched one weekend. I was watching hours and hours of. My wife was making fun of me because I'm watching like 18-year-olds teach me, a 7-year-old, about Discord, and the kid's got like pimples on his face and shit. He's eating like
pizza bagels.
Yeah, eating bagel bites and drinking Mountain Dew.
Yeah, bagel bites.
And he's in like a gaming thing, and she's like, "What are you watching?" And I'm like, I'm teaching myself Discord building right now. She's like, how old is that kid? And I'm like, he's probably like fucking 16, dude. But and so I watched it, and so I started building it. It was Sunday. I work every day, and I work till I hang out with my family in the afternoon or in the lunchtime. So anyway, it's like afternoon time. My time's coming up, and I'm building this thing, and I started creating the roles, and I stopped. And I had to check myself, and I said, why the fuck am I doing this? I thought about our deadline, and I thought about how much other stuff I had to do to get ready for the REI Ops Center release. So what did I do then? After I taught myself everything a layman could do to teach the basics, I understood Discord, I understood roles and bots and chats and all these different things that Discord offers you. I went online and I hired somebody. I researched again, I dove deep, read reviews, researched all the different offerings, who was offering what, and basically what the best value was. And I hired somebody. And then when he did it, he produced the wrong results. So because I already dove deep and had a basic understanding, I explained to him what was wrong, asked him for a call because I did pay for the most expensive package because you get what you pay for. It came with a 1-hour call. We hopped on a 1-hour call, and he taught me even more but I was able to, in an educated way, speak to him about Discord and what I wanted and how I wanted it set up. And then he explained his knowledge to me. And then in 2 days, he produced phenomenal results that was in line with what was exactly in my head of what I thought I wanted or could create, but came out, let's be honest, a shit ton better and took none of my time. And it didn't cost me that much in the grand scheme of things. Mm-hmm. And I could do like 7 other tasks that John had on a list for us to do for the release. And that was a huge lesson, like, because at first it was a battle. I was going to do it myself. I had started doing it. Mm-hmm. But then I said to myself, wait, is this the lesson I've learned over the last 2 years of business, that I should be doing this task? Or should I find somebody who's smarter than me to do it? And the same thing happened with the PowerPoint. Mm-hmm. Only difference is I didn't start the PowerPoint. I learned my lesson. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to make this PowerPoint. I brain dumped. Gave the materials of all the stuff I wanted, hired someone, gave him the brain dump, detailed what I wanted, had a couple revisions, and done. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest flex, man. Biggest flex.
It was interesting too. So like everything that you're looking at on this show, the StreamYard overlays, the logo, didn't do it. Like I know how to do all that stuff, and I've done it in the past. But as we got into this podcast, I'm like, I'm so busy. I just need somebody else to go do it. And so it was funny, like you explaining that story, and we talked about it, yesterday. But like we came off the webinar and we were like, we need a sales site, and I'm like, we can do it in ClickFunnels. I've done so many things in ClickFunnels, and Brandon had to be like, John, stop. You're not doing it. Like, you just need to focus on keeping our devs busy. Like, I will go learn enough to be dangerous. And I think that that's a key part of this, right? And we'll loop back around to this. I'll learn enough to be dangerous and then just hire somebody to actually build it all.
Same thing all around. But that, John, is the hardest thing to do. So whatever it is, right? Like if you're making a pitch deck, I don't need to make a pitch deck. I can brain dump. Someone else can present something. If I need an ebook, I can brain dump. Someone else can make it for me. And eventually, as you make more money, like right now, we're looking at hiring a marketing content creator, right? Like somebody to do a lot of this stuff where I don't have to keep hiring one off. And as you make more money, it makes more financial sense to do that. But at a certain point, it just doesn't, right? You hiring someone at $300, $1,000, $500, it makes sense to do it one off. I don't know, man. It's the hardest flex. And that's what Alex was, when I was talking to him of what he was saying, he's learned, and we were joking. And the old line, if I knew then what I knew now, and it's true, if I knew in my 20s that hiring people was a bigger flex than bragging that I did it, because before I would have gotten satisfaction when John said, Brandon, that's a good PowerPoint. I would have been like, yeah, John, I stayed up all night to do it. I mean, I pulled an all-nighter. I did it, man. You like it? I taught myself this, that. And it would have been an ego thing, but it probably wouldn't have been the smart thing. The smart thing is compounding labor. If I can get somebody to do at 60% what I could do, but I get 100% of my time, and it may take me 1 or 2 people to do that, I'm now getting 120% versus 100%. And I get my time back to go do something else. And I can keep compounding labor that way. And when we were going back and forth on this, it's funny because he's doing real estate, and we're coming to the same conclusions just later on in life.
Yeah.
They don't teach you that shit in high school, and I went to college. They didn't teach me that in college, and that's the thing. Is like,
I don't think anybody teaches that. I mean, maybe except for like entrepreneurs.
Well, I'm sure there's a guru out there too.
Oh yeah. But it is a really like interesting thing. I'm trying to think. Carlos, can you think of any other circumstances you might know of that or anything?
Of like compounding, I forget the exact term, like compounding delegation almost.
Yeah. It's a good term.
For me, I mean, I always talk about integrating like personal and business life. So I mean, like business, it's going to be depending on like whatever projects, but like you see that with like meal prep or getting house cleaners or anything like that is probably the most like native or relatable. Yeah. For like civilians even to relate to. That's a beautiful thing when your house or condo is getting cleaned while you're doing work. in the office. That is an absolute beautiful thing.
Lawn
if
care?
you're in Miami, maybe, yeah, lawn care,
yeah.
anything.
I
If you're in
have someone
Miami,
doing my lawn now.
yeah, huge
Love it.
flex. Like, it just,
It's the best thing ever.
you're paying, and like, I heard a couple good podcasts. I was going to say, as a funny note, if you're in Miami and you're not fully fluent in Spanish like me, Uber's cleaning services, they'll talk in English up until they get there, and then they speak full Spanish, and then you're just like, well, this is going to be fun. See how they do it. So make sure they speak the correct language when you're getting this compounding delegation done for you. But yeah, I listened to a couple good podcasts on the way to Asheville yesterday. One was the Baltimore Ravens, the NFL team's owner, who he's a billionaire, one of the apparently 3,800 billionaires in the world. The other one was with two guys that are in the academy, John Plumstead, Frank Scapitici. I hit you guys up yesterday. Appreciate the podcast. But they were both kind of talking about similar principles. Like, Steve Bisciotti is a billionaire. He had a company called Aerotech that pretty much did staffing and recruiting for engineers. And they would pretty much bring them as like in-house employees and then place them into big companies that hired engineers. Became a billionaire off that. He was too stressed from working 70-hour weeks and not seeing his family. So he got presented this idea of buying the Ravens as a minority owner, then got brought in as a majority owner. But some of the biggest leverage points that he talked about, whether it's investing, working in the NFL team, is like, hey, I'm just discovering how to be an NFL owner. I am not going to be able to, I'm 50 or 40 years old when he did it. In my rest of my life, I'm not going to be able to catch up to somebody who knows how to do player personnel or build an NFL roster better the rest of my life. So that is just 100%. I know I'm deferring that. Same thing with investments he talks about. He's like, I'm not going to go in and try to learn about stocks at 40 years old or whenever, because someone that does that full time is going to eat my lunch every day. He's like, I'm going to focus on my one business thing. I'm going to work with people that specialize in people that have billions of dollars to invest and just trust their word and delegate that and not even use any of my brain capacity on that. So same thing. It's same principle. Papa P making slides, everything like that. It's important things to do. And what was the term? Compounding
labor.
Compounding labor.
That's why my biggest theory on real estate agents is true. And people don't believe me that there's going to be real estate agents. There's only going to be two types of agents in the future as the industry dies out over the next 5 or 10 years. For the investor, like low income fixes, and for rich people, because those two people understand compounding labor. The middle class will think that they can do it themselves to save money. But what they don't realize is they're going to wind up costing themselves money. It's the same thing that happened in the financial brokerage industry and stocks. Poor people try to do stocks themselves and invest themselves, right? Whereas investors, right, or like rich people, they will hire a big firm for their data, their talent, whatever it is, and pay the price. But middle class people will be like Robinhood, E-Trade. And they don't understand that even though it's illegal for insider trading, it happens all the time, that they're going to get their lunch eaten by these people. Right? Wealthy people understand that. People who run investment banker, like big investment hedge funds, the guy who runs it, what does he do? He compounds labor, hires the smartest people to help him make the best investments, who have the best connections with the best trading houses and all that. It's the same thing. But I have a stat for you that goes through, and I thought this was funny because I just saw this. Talk about the difference in compounding labor to increase your wealth. The wealth of Elon Musk, 2012, $2 billion. 2022, $231 billion. Jeff Bezos, 2012, $18 billion. 2022, $140 billion. Mark Zuckerberg, the Zuckman, 17 bill to now is 61 bill. The U.S. federal minimum wage, 2012, $7.25. Currently, $7.25. And so many people will see that and be like, oh, that's not fair. To me, I see the learning of how to compound labor to increase your wealth by being a business owner and entrepreneur versus a person who doesn't understand that. And that 725 person is the same person who trying to have different side hustles, do different things, do it all themselves, do their lawn, do their thing. And like I always tell the story of like when I was younger in my 20s and I hired someone to do my lawn, my dad thought that was bad. Because my dad came from a different different generation where you do everything yourself, right? You work a job, you come home from your job, you take care of your house and all that. And I was a realtor at the time, just beginning in the business world. And I was like, well, this doesn't make sense for me to do, because if I did it, the fucking grass would be like up to my head. And so a lot of people don't get that. So you see them out cutting their yard. But for me, if I cut my yard, that means I'm not working on my business, which is what Carlos was saying. So I just thought it was funny.
Same thing with my dad.
Yeah, same here. I was trying to find a post.
Save $50. Save $50 to do it yourself.
Have like 100x'd, 10x'd, and I think Elon Musk like legit 100x'd his wealth. But like most of them have 10x'd their fucking wealth because of the way they're expanding, compounding. Zuckerberg has expanded his wealth because he's compounding labor by buying other people's ideas and by buying other people's companies instead of generating his own anymore. Well, you could argue he didn't even generate his first idea, but you know.
I found it. Okay. I was like, I keep bookmarking things in Instagram and I have no idea where to find them. Now I know where to find your bookmarks. But so Alex Ramosi made this post and he said, you know what will make you more money than journaling, cold plunges, red light saunas, and daily affirmations? Working. Here are a few activities that can actually make you more money. And so he puts it all in the caption. And so prioritize 4 days to work uninterrupted. Outsource personal activities and chores is number 2 for him. This gives you time back. Cooking, cleaning, picking stuff up, errands, etc. Humaning is what he calls it. And then he goes on, like, it's a good post with a bunch of other stuff. But I thought that was really interesting. That was number 2 for him, was like outsource the humaning. And to your point, right? Like it gives you more time back to focus, like doing the work on your business.
Yeah, and it's overcoming limiting beliefs too. Like you're even worthy of that. Like you're even worthy of
that. It even makes sense. But hang on, it has to make sense for most people. I will actually get a benefit. So when I get my time back, that doesn't mean I'm sitting on my couch while our maid cleans. I am going to be sitting in my office or at office, right? And we're looking at trying to get a nanny. If I get a nanny, it doesn't mean we're just laying in bed or eating or going to the movies. We're going to be doing something productive to it, right?
Yeah.
So that's the difference of what people don't get. Listen, and if that's not you, then you have no need to get rid of humaning because you have decided humaning is for you. You want that humaning experience over productivity and accomplishing more. That's just not what this podcast is about, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's wrong either. I have a buddy whose entire life, he loves his 9 to 5. He loves mowing his grass. He loves working on his house. And that's satisfaction to him. He has no need to become wealthy or help people or generate. Like that's not his thing. He doesn't want to contribute that way. He just wants to enjoy his fucking life. He wants to human. He wants to human. I like that. I'm going to use that more.
Humaning.
You know, I don't know. And I believe in what Grant Cardone said. I said it before on this podcast. I think long before you worry about trying to come up with 100 other side hustles, like learning stocks, learning this, Grant's like, just go deeper in what you're doing. He's like, if you got a job, just become even more dangerous at that job. Learn something more, become a more value, find a way to help your company save money. And if you keep doing it repeatedly, you will make more money. They would be stupid of them not to promote you unless you're just a toxic person in their environment. And no matter what your ideas are, they don't want you. I think you should just dive deeper into what you're doing, man. But too many people think side hustling is the way to go. So.
Yep.
Oh.
Up on the hammer.
So the nanny,
the topics of the day.
So the potential nanny hire isn't going to be like a nanny lead manager, cold caller hybrid role for you then. Strictly nanny.
No, man. But it is going to be a nanny. So we've already decided that we need 2 types of nannies, and we're going to ease into one, which is like, you know, we got a baby and we have 7 now. Shit, fuck that up. He's 7 years old. And so we need help with that, but we're also planning, you know, God willing, I would love to have another one. And that's the thing. So you need to make sure that nanny is able to do those things, even if that's a year or 2 years away. And then also as the business grows, right, we want to be able to travel. So you need a nanny that travels. And that type of nanny we have learned is like 2 separate type of nannies, right? It's about their lifestyle. So you might need to grow into a nanny per se. Right? Like you need who goes to the other saying, people who start with you may not be the people that continue with you on your dreams and your goals.
Mm-hmm.
But it'd be stupid of us to find the traveling nanny now when we don't plan on traveling as much. And by traveling, I don't mean going on vacation. I mean going to masterminds and events and business things. We would, because me and my wife work together, so we would need that. So yeah, it would be a focus on a great fucking nanny, just like we look for a house cleaner or maid.
I remember Dan Martell as our SAS coach, and I remember 4 years ago, on his Instagram, he would talk about his house manager, and my initial thought was, what kind of privileged person has a house manager that like is in their house buying groceries? And then not now, as time has evolved, and I'm like, oh, I totally get it. It's all about just like buying your time back and being able to focus on what's important. And I see it in my life. I'm not at that level to have a house manager, and God knows when that will ever happen. If it does, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. But I'm like, oh, I gotta go sit down with my wife and talk about the food plan for the week, and then we gotta order the groceries. We do get the groceries delivered, which is
so do we.
We figured that out.
Humaning.
Oh my God.
Humaning.
Yes.
We're done with humaning.
But like it's that type of stuff, and it's like, whoa, man, if somebody else did all of that, then I would just gain all that time back to continue.
And you would work on the business,
here.
right? So that's what it comes down to: is you have to have something to do with it. You know.
Yep.
I think that was very informative.
It was. It was. So, pulse of the week.
Pulse of the week. Did you guys see my post where I was talking about mortgage rates?
I love that post.
The size of a mortgage, just for everyone who understands, the size of a mortgage covered by a $3,000 monthly payment 4 years ago was $600K. 2 years ago, it was $670. 1 year ago, $730. Today, $640. So still $40K higher than it was 4 years ago. Now, granted, what does that mean? That's still a shock for people because their dollar still doesn't go as far as last year. But people fucking forget that up until the free money eras of COVID, these were the rates that you were getting, and it made sense. You weren't panicking then.
Yep.
I just have different beliefs than other people. So I posted that. I mean, I don't think we're seeing a crash. That guy I was talking to, he has the complete opposite belief. And I don't think he's wrong either. I mean, I don't think anyone can predict. So that's my thing with Pulse of the Week, is I was seeing that and I was like, man, when you really start to dive into the real numbers and how our foreclosures aren't even there yet, like we're not there yet on foreclosures. People say they could happen. And yeah, guess what could happen? We need major financial implosion, not in the financial New York Stock Exchange way like before with Lehman, but I mean more of like personal debt. If more and more people are building up their credit card debt and start defaulting, well, that's a softer type of debt in my mind. That's not as big as what had happened before when institutions were defaulting and all the lending dried up. Lending hasn't dried up. I still have hard money lenders pitching me, and I'm still trying to get a loan on, like, I was talking to a guy yesterday about a loan on a mobile home park. It hasn't dried up yet. Could change, but I'm not seeing it happen now.
Absolutely.
So zoom out on that. Zoom out on Bitcoin falling.
Perspective.
Buying more.
Perspective. Love it.
Buying more. DCA into it. Did you see that Steve Trang video though?
I haven't watched it. I know you two did.
Carlos, what do you
break it down for me?
I watched a panel. I can't remember if it's the same video. I watched a panel. It's the new segment that he's doing. Pardon the disruption. Was that the same one where Leon Barnes on? One of the collective genius guys? No, this
one was him talking about how he's pivoting in the coming recession, how his business is pivoting in real estate, and he's talking about doing more innovations and trying to really focus on getting in and out of stuff a lot faster per se than doing the flipping and all that. And he's looking at raising more private money as money looks for places to go instead of maybe
taking out lines of credit and stuff.
Yeah, I see a lot of people talking about that as well.
Yeah, so I actually missed that specific video, but I saw his collective genius recap video and then the 2 panel videos. So I think I missed the one specifically right in between there. But I think a lot of the insight he got was from a high-level guy out of San Diego that was essentially hitting on all those subjects, which is which is super interesting for sure. And I mean, it makes sense, the pivots that they're looking to do for what's going on.
What can you give us on that collective genius video?
The guy, so it was a guy, I can't remember his name. Apparently he's one of the biggest guys out of San Diego. But they're just doing a lot less fix and flips. They're just trying to have like the time that they're in a property a lot, like as short as possible, essentially. I think that was kind of the main stemming of advice. And then kind of the tier below that was doing more creative deals, novations, things like that nature. Steve was interviewing that guy, and he's like, as soon as I get back to Phoenix, I'm going to implement all this stuff. Plus, leveraging other people's money and taking out lines of credit. Those were kind of the 3 tier of things, and it sounds like that's exactly what Steve is doing.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing, what you have to do, and what I'm trying to do right now. I don't know novations, but I actually have a couple tabs open of things to buy to learn novations. To try to learn enough to be dangerous, essentially. I think doing creative stuff, like I've been more and more, on the mobile home parks, more and more seller financing. I don't even want to go through a regular institution for that type of thing. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense in this type of economy. So those are my thoughts on that.
I would love to learn about novations. I have absolutely no freaking clue about it. I know Carlos, I mean, I do too, but we know a couple of novation experts. I don't know.
Yeah, Matt,
right?
V-Brock,
and
one of the tabs, Corey Geary. One of the
Corey Geary,
Novation Nation
Investor Fuse guy, and then Matt V-Brock has a course with Eric Brewer. They're both in person breaking down
Brewer
novations.
method.
I don't know
feel
if
like
that's
that's
separate
it.
from that, but I think it's essentially the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I have opened up on my tab right now.
V-Brock.
Brewer Method and Novation Nation are 2 tabs on my website, my web page.
What's gonna get Papa P's attention
Money.
here? I'm interested to
I'm
find
sure
out.
they're all, the price. They're always like $5,000. So what I'm sure it doesn't. And again, it doesn't come down to price for me. It'll come down to like what I'll do is this will probably take me like 3 weeks to decide. I'll probably be watching a lot of YouTube videos, figure out who I identify with the most, figure out who I deem to be the most knowledgeable, you know what I mean, or most intelligent speaker on the topic, and then I'll pick one. Because guaranteed everyone charges the same price for this shit. I did the same thing when I was looking at new marketing channels, who I wanted to pay to learn a different way to do something.
Yep.
So yeah, I just keep them open on my thing until I research them. I don't really know either one. Why I met Eric Brewer before, but I don't know personally Corey, so I'd have to do some more research on him.
Corey's a good guy. I know him.
Both solid dudes. I don't know Eric Brewer, but
I was about to ask you, have we met Eric?
Just in Zoom.
If you have not, Carlos, then I have not.
In Zoom, I've met him on an academy call where they were pretty much pitching that or showing that, but I can't say I know the guy. Super smart. I saw him I've heard him on a panel. I can't say I personally know him. I can't say if he prefers, Italian water to tap or filtered water.
Did you dive deeper into the water?
No, I didn't. I mean, I didn't do any research. When I'm traveling, I don't have as much. I don't make enough time to do stuff. Just being in DC, I was home for 1 day and then came back to North Carolina. So happy to be here, seeing the whole family. But I'm definitely excited. Next week I'll be home, and I'm excited to be home. I did not check out the Zac Efron.
Yeah, I have slated the next family watching thing. Right now we're on Prehistoric Earth, which is all about dinosaurs. Next, I told Shannon, I was like, next thing we're watching is Zac Efron.
My boy Zac Efron.
Yeah. So we'll get
to teach you about water and good living.
Yeah. I feel like I watched one of his episodes. Didn't he go to like Iceland or something?
He does.
Okay. I feel like I watched that episode, and I don't think we watched it anymore, but yeah.
I think there's like 6 episodes or something. I forget, but yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
Right.
All right, guys.
Excellent recap of everything. I think this was phenomenal. Until next week.
Absolutely. We will be here same time, same place. Well, Carlos might move. He moves around a lot. He's moving or not moving. Are we
going up to Pennsylvania to the family house for the next 3 weeks, escaping this humidity, head back home to Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow.
And
You two are making me jealous.
we have the house up there, so we just kind of go up there and hang out with fam. And me, my sister still lives up there and stuff. So we'll head up there for like 3 weeks, and that's where I'm from. So it's just nice.
Go meet up with Eric Brewer. He's up that way.
I know he lives right next to me, actually, not like literally my neighbor, but he lives like 2 towns over. Well, York is literally like down the road, so it's just different. But yeah, still play him in football.
Yeah, I'm not going to the mountains this summer, so you guys are making me jealous with your humidity escaping. Carlos is in my zone right now.
The grass is different. It's a softer grass.
Let's stop talking about it. I'm going to get jealous.
Air is different.
All right, guys. See you next week. Thank you, everybody.
All right, guys, rock and load. Woo!